Now, the scenario that's being put forward is that he, being Epstein, was going to sue Fergie, and she was trying to avoid that.
Ex-wife Sarah, Duchess of York, will also lose her title and will be known as Sarah Ferguson.
I think I was just myself with her.
What really happened on Sarah Ferguson's final night at Royal Lodge? And why did it unfold so quietly? Behind the closed curtains of Windsor, reports describe a departure carried out with unusual discretion. No formal announcement, no farewell appearance, just dimmed lights, carefully timed movements, and a residence quietly left behind. For someone long associated with Royal Lodge, the silence surrounding that final evening has raised more questions than answers. Was this simply a practical relocation, or a sign of deeper shifts within the royal household? Tonight, we take a closer look at the reporting, the timeline, and what this moment may reveal about reputation, perception, and the evolving dynamics behind palace walls. Whispers from Windsor describe an unexpected night for Sarah Ferguson. Reports suggest that tension filled the atmosphere as she quietly prepared to leave, in what some insiders have called her most difficult hours at the estate. Curtains were drawn, lights were dimmed, and movements appeared carefully timed before a discreet departure under cover of night. No official statement followed, only brief sightings and unanswered questions about why such privacy was needed. What's clear is that Sarah Ferguson is now without a permanent residence, and the manner of her exit has drawn attention from royal observers. It wasn't a public event or a dramatic announcement. It was handled quietly, almost deliberately, creating a sense of distance. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew, still facing ongoing scrutiny, has continued to be seen around Windsor, occasionally acknowledging members of the public. The contrast has been widely noted, one remaining visible, the other stepping away almost entirely. Behind the scenes, reports indicate that Royal Lodge, the 30-room residence long associated with Prince Andrew, is no longer an option for Sarah. This change appears to mark a turning point, suggesting that prior arrangements had reached their limits. Amid these developments, King Charles has faced renewed questions about transparency and accountability. When asked about potential cooperation with law enforcement, his response was measured but clear. The palace would comply if required. Observers view this as part of a broader effort to maintain public confidence and demonstrate openness. As Sarah's situation continues to evolve, much remains uncertain, leaving the public to interpret what her quiet departure might truly signify. According to reporting from the Daily Mail, Sarah Ferguson had reportedly been preparing for the possibility of losing her residence in the weeks before the decision became public. Rather than making a visible departure, sources claimed she kept a low profile, limiting public appearances and avoiding attention from photographers or staff. These accounts suggest a deliberate effort to manage the situation quietly, though such details remain unconfirmed by official representatives. One particularly notable claim alleged that she was occasionally driven in and out of the property discreetly to avoid being photographed. While these reports have not been independently verified, they have contributed to a broader narrative about how carefully the transition was handled. For someone once known for a more outgoing public persona, the contrast has drawn commentary from royal observers. The situation reportedly gained renewed attention following further media coverage related to previously reported Epstein-linked communications. Although scrutiny has largely centered on Prince Andrew, public discussion has at times extended to those connected to him. In royal circles, perception and association can carry significant weight, regardless of direct involvement. As a result, Sarah Ferguson's public presence appears to have diminished, while Prince Andrew has continued to be seen at Windsor. The differing visibility has been widely noted, leaving observers to reflect on how each figure's role is currently being managed within the broader royal framework. Royal Lodge becoming unavailable was significant, but much of the discussion has focused on how the change unfolded. According to media reports, newly surfaced correspondence raised concerns within royal circles. Some outlets suggested that the language referenced Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie in communication with senior figures, prompting questions about how widely the impact of ongoing controversies might extend. These claims have not been formally addressed by the palace, but they added to an already sensitive atmosphere. At the same time, observers noted continued public sightings of Prince Andrew on the Windsor estate. Reports indicated that King Charles was increasingly mindful of how such appearances might be perceived. While Andrew has not held official royal duties for some time, his visibility has remained a point of discussion, particularly given the broader context of past allegations and scrutiny. The timing also coincided with renewed political headlines elsewhere, adding to a challenging media environment for the monarchy. Previous questions surrounding Andrew's role as a trade envoy and his past association with Jeffrey Epstein resurfaced in public debate. Although no new findings were presented, the renewed attention alone appeared to heighten sensitivities within the institution. Taken together, these developments contributed to a period of adjustment and caution as the royal household navigated complex reputational considerations under continued public observation. In royal affairs, public perception can carry as much weight as proven facts. Reports suggest that discussions about Royal Lodge accelerated quickly in the period leading up to the change in residence. Some outlets have claimed that King Charles and Prince William held private meetings at Sandringham shortly beforehand. While the details of those conversations remain unconfirmed, the location is often associated with significant family deliberations conducted away from public view. Soon after, it was widely reported that Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson were asked to vacate Royal Lodge earlier than expected. Certain accounts describe the timing as abrupt, including claims that Andrew departed late at night before fully completing preparations. These descriptions have not been formally verified, but they contributed to the impression that the transition moved faster than anticipated. Media coverage also noted that the property appeared in the midst of being cleared, with furnishings and artwork removed as part of the process. Whether routine or hurried, the images fueled speculation about how smoothly the relocation unfolded. Public reaction has remained divided. Some commentators argue that Andrew has been treated harshly in comparison to others, while critics maintain that reputational concerns required firm action. As with much surrounding the royal household, interpretations vary, and definitive details remain limited to what has been shared through public reporting. Some commentators have suggested that palace officials were increasingly focused on managing public perception and protecting the institution's reputation as media coverage intensified. Reports indicated that references to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie in circulated correspondence added another layer of sensitivity, though the exact context of those references has not been formally clarified. In situations involving the monarchy, even indirect associations can draw significant attention. Royal Lodge, once viewed as a stable residence closely associated with Prince Andrew, began to appear less certain as discussions about occupancy unfolded. Observers noted that the property, long tied to ongoing public scrutiny, had become part of a broader conversation about accountability and image management. Sarah Ferguson's continued residence at Royal Lodge following her 1996 divorce from Andrew had often been described as unconventional but not unprecedented. Over the years, it drew periodic commentary because it did not align neatly with traditional royal living arrangements. Unlike many royal properties categorized as grace and favor homes, Royal Lodge was reportedly held under a long-term lease extending to 2078. Public records have indicated that significant renovation and maintenance costs were attached to that agreement, placing financial responsibility on the leaseholder. As circumstances evolved, these practical considerations became part of the wider discussion surrounding the residence and its future. Public reporting has suggested that the extensive renovations at Royal Lodge came with significant financial commitments. Various outlets have indicated that maintaining the large property required ongoing investment, adding pressure as Prince Andrew's public role diminished. While precise figures have not been officially confirmed, the scale of upkeep was widely described as substantial. When it became clear that the existing lease arrangement would not continue in the same way, the impact extended beyond logistics. For Sarah Ferguson, who had lived at Royal Lodge for many years, the change marked the end of a long-standing routine. Observers noted that the transition appeared swift, though official timelines were limited to brief statements and media accounts. Public reaction to these developments remained mixed. While criticism toward Andrew has been persistent, commentary about other members of the family has often been more measured. This contrast has fueled broader discussion about whether the situation reflects individual controversy or wider institutional challenges. In the weeks before the move, photographers captured delivery vehicles arriving at the estate, which some interpreted as signs of preparation. Reports described the property being gradually cleared, with personal belongings packed and rooms emptied over time. Among the items mentioned in coverage were long-kept personal possessions, symbolizing the close of a chapter. Rather than a single dramatic moment, the transition appeared to unfold quietly. documented mostly through photographs and media observation. As discussion around Royal Lodge continued, certain personal details frequently appeared in media coverage. Among them was Prince Andrew's well-known collection of teddy bears. Some reports claimed that many of these items were packed early in the moving process and placed into storage, while others suggested that a few personal belongings remained in the residence. These accounts, though widely circulated, have not been formally confirmed. Commentary also described a subdued atmosphere at the property in the weeks leading up to the transition. A number of outlets portrayed Andrew as spending extended periods at home, largely out of public view. Such descriptions relied heavily on unnamed sources and remain part of broader media narratives rather than official statements. Sarah Ferguson was similarly said to be navigating a period of uncertainty. Reports indicated that she leaned on close friends and trusted contacts during this time, occasionally meeting in private settings away from public attention. While these details come from secondary sources, they contributed to the portrayal of a household managing significant change behind closed doors. As the relocation approached, observers suggested that the long-standing living arrangement between Andrew and Sarah appeared increasingly practical rather than symbolic. Without direct confirmation from those involved, much of the story remains shaped by interpretation rather than verified fact. Media reports have suggested that, in the period leading up to their departure from Royal Lodge, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson were largely living separate routines within the property. According to unnamed sources cited in tabloids, they reportedly met mainly for meals, where discussions were said to focus on practical decisions about the future. These accounts have not been independently confirmed, but they contributed to the broader narrative of a household in transition. Several outlets describe Sarah as experiencing significant uncertainty during this time. Commentators portrayed her as concerned about the potential end of a long-standing living arrangement and the loss of stability it represented. As with much of the reporting, these characterizations were based on anonymous briefings rather than public statements. Following her departure, questions arose about where she would reside next. Some royal commentators speculated about possible travel abroad, referencing locations she has visited previously. Royal author Andrew Loney told The Mirror that she has in the past stepped back from public view during periods of intense scrutiny. However, no official confirmation detailed her immediate plans. Rumors linking her to various destinations, including private islands and overseas retreats, circulated widely online. Without verified information, these suggestions remain speculative, reflecting ongoing public interest rather than established fact. Initial online speculation suggested that Sarah Ferguson may have traveled to Necker Island, a private property owned by Richard Branson. However, representatives associated with Branson quickly denied those claims, and no evidence emerged to support the reports. As a result, attention shifted back to developments closer to Windsor, where she has long-standing ties. Some commentators have suggested that she hopes to remain in the area, though questions have been raised about financial practicality. Various media estimates have placed her net worth at a modest level compared to local property prices, which are widely reported to be high. In that context, securing a long-term residence in Windsor could present challenges, though precise financial details have not been publicly confirmed. At the same time, renewed media attention surrounding documents linked to Jeffrey Epstein has brought Sarah's past associations back into public discussion. Certain outlets cited emails in which she was referenced in unflattering terms, including claims that she had sought financial assistance from Epstein. These characterizations stem from reported correspondence and have not resulted in new legal findings. As coverage continues, the situation reflects the broader reality that reputational impact often extends beyond formal outcomes, leaving observers to interpret the significance of revived documents and renewed scrutiny. Recently released messages reported in several media outlets have renewed public discussion surrounding Sarah Ferguson and her past association with Jeffrey Epstein. Some commentators have suggested that the contents of these documents were surprising, not only because of what was written, but because of the broader context in which the correspondence took place. The palace has not issued detailed responses to many of the specific claims. Among the allegations circulating in press coverage were claims about photographs and family-related references. These assertions remain part of media reporting and have not been supported by new legal findings. As with much surrounding this period, the material has been interpreted in different ways by commentators and royal observers. A separate exchange from 2010, widely quoted in newspapers, has also drawn attention for its informal tone. In that correspondence, Epstein reportedly mentioned a possible trip to New York, and Sarah's reply included a personal remark that critics have described as ill-judged. The language, published in full by several outlets, has been cited as contributing to reputational damage rather than introducing new legal developments. There have also been renewed references to past travel to the United States following Epstein's 2009 release from prison. Representatives for Sarah have previously denied certain characterizations of those visits. With the documents now publicly discussed, the impact appears largely reputational, illustrating how revived correspondence can prompt fresh scrutiny even years later. When private emails linked to Sarah Ferguson became public through court filings and media coverage, they prompted renewed discussion about the wider impact on members of the royal family. Commentators noted that the correspondence did not only revisit past controversies, but also drew attention to other figures connected by association. One message, reportedly sent around Princess Eugenie's 20th birthday, received particular focus in several newspapers. At the time, Eugenie was largely out of the public spotlight, concentrating on her personal life. However, the resurfaced email, described as warm and highly personal in tone, was later interpreted by critics as evidence of a level of familiarity that raised questions in hindsight. The palace has not provided detailed commentary on the specific wording of the exchange. Sources quoted in the Daily Mail claimed that Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice were surprised and embarrassed by the renewed attention. Such accounts rely on unnamed insiders and have not been independently verified. Observers have suggested that the situation placed the sisters in a difficult position as they navigated scrutiny tied to decisions and relationships largely outside their control. Ultimately, the emails added another layer to an already complex public narrative, underscoring how historical correspondence can resurface and influence present-day perceptions. As media coverage intensified, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice found themselves referenced in commentary surrounding past correspondence. Some observers questioned what they may have known, while others argued that such assumptions were unfair. A source quoted by Page 6 claimed that Eugenie felt she was being drawn into controversy tied to decisions made by others. These remarks, attributed to unnamed contacts, reflect how reputational impact can extend beyond those directly involved. The phrase, "a never-ending mess," reportedly shared by someone close to the family, has been cited in coverage to describe the ongoing strain. Whether accurate or not, it captures the sense that revived documents can prolong public scrutiny long after initial events have passed. Sarah Ferguson has often been described by commentators as personable and approachable, qualities that have shaped much of her public image. However, recent disclosures have prompted renewed evaluation of past associations. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond noted in interviews that while public figures may be well-liked, certain controversies tend to resurface over time. Among the episodes revisited in press reports was a past trip to Miami that drew attention in retrospect. As with many elements of this broader story, interpretations differ, and much of the narrative continues to rely on previously reported accounts rather than new official findings. Media coverage has revisited a 2010 lunch in New York attended by Sarah Ferguson alongside Jeffrey Epstein shortly after his release from prison. At the time, the meeting drew criticism, and it has since been re-examined in light of later disclosures. Commentators have questioned the judgment behind the decision, though no new legal conclusions have emerged from the renewed attention. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond has also referenced emails that allegedly included personal remarks about family matters. In interviews, she suggested that such language, if accurately reported, could be viewed as inappropriate and potentially damaging. These interpretations reflect opinion rather than official findings, but they have contributed to ongoing debate about the broader implications of the correspondence. Despite the scrutiny, reports indicate that Sarah Ferguson has continued with professional plans, including discussions about publishing projects. The Daily Mail suggested that she may be considering another memoir, a move some analysts see as an effort to shape her own narrative. At the same time, sources cited in the press claim she does not intend to resume living with Prince Andrew. Royal commentator Andrew Loney has suggested that distancing herself could be viewed as a strategic decision. Meanwhile, Andrew has consistently denied wrongdoing and, according to reported sources, believes he has been treated unfairly. As perspectives remain divided, the situation illustrates the complexity of reputation, accountability, and public opinion within the royal sphere. In the months since these developments resurfaced, the broader focus has shifted toward how the royal household manages long-term reputational risk. Palace aides have emphasized transparency and adherence to institutional boundaries, particularly in situations that draw sustained public attention. While official statements have remained limited, the approach appears measured, prioritizing stability over reaction. For Sarah Ferguson, public appearances have continued in selective and controlled settings, often tied to her charitable work and publishing projects. Observers note that this steady visibility may signal an effort to maintain professional identity separate from past controversy. At the same time, media interest has not fully subsided, with archival material and prior associations periodically returning to headlines. Prince Andrew, who stepped back from official duties in 2019, remains a subject of debate. His legal matters in the United States were resolved through settlement without an admission of liability, yet public discussion persists. The contrast between legal closure and reputational recovery has become a defining theme in commentary surrounding his position. Taken together, these elements reflect an ongoing recalibration within the royal family, one shaped less by dramatic announcements and more by gradual shifts in roles, visibility, and public engagement. Recent reporting suggests that those connected to the controversy continue to maintain their respective positions. Sarah Ferguson has indicated in past statements that her involvement was limited, even as previously released emails have prompted renewed scrutiny. The contrast between personal accounts and documented correspondence has become a central point of discussion in media coverage, placing her in a complex position, neither formally accused of wrongdoing nor entirely free from public questioning. Prince Andrew has likewise denied allegations made against him in the past, and while certain legal matters have been settled without admission of liability, public debate continues. According to several outlets, both he and Sarah were approached for comment regarding the latest wave of reporting, but did not provide new statements. In the absence of detailed responses, analysis has largely been shaped by previously published records and expert commentary. At its core, this story now centers on reputation and long-term public trust. How does an institution move forward when historical associations continue to resurface? And how do individuals reshape their public image in the face of persistent scrutiny? What do you think? Is this primarily about past decisions or about how they are being interpreted today? Share your thoughts below, and if you found this balanced breakdown helpful, consider subscribing to the channel for more in-depth coverage and updates.